some like weird thing that somebody pressed on. I don't know what you're doing.
Try Facebook.
Mary Rose doesn't have an email to join yet either.
She does. Yeah, I've already sent it to her.
Okay, maybe resend it. Which is your challenging one.
Which one of them? Tell her I sent it again.
You gonna resend it?
I have.
Okay. Yeah, I told her.
It's been sent to her She-Wolf Hotmail. Tell them to check the junk folder.
Done?
She in?
She's looking. Okay.
Looking good?
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Live paint night party. I'm Gary Parker. I'm going to be your artist tonight. Paint and Cocktails is our company, and today we're doing Ipperwash Beach. So the paints we're going to be needing are red, yellow, a little bit of brown, some white, and some blue. Just like that on your foam plate. And again, we just stick to 3 brushes. You're free to use as many brushes as you like. About a 1-incher right there. Much smaller flathead one like that. A little one. Or any ones you've got available. The reason I like this medium, we'll call this the medium one, because when we do the posts here, it basically fits that brush right there. That's what you need to do. So something like that will work. Smaller than that one. All right. Everybody has their foam plates, I hope, and some napkins, and a cup of water, any size you like, to clean your brushes. And we'll be ready to start. We'll give you about a 2-3 minute lead time here before we begin, just to let everybody check in, get comfortable, get their paint set up. Please, in the comments, let me know where you're from and how your day was. Hi, JP Pike. How you doing? Hope everyone's well. It's another beautiful hot summer day today. Once again, when we're doing our paint night, you might be interrupted by a couple of cats, particularly Maya. She loves to join in. Don't be alarmed. She's a good artist. I've got my drink. Now, I know we're painting cocktails. Today I'm just going to be using some water. And an idea we have is that for our next paint night in about 2 weeks' time, we will also present a cocktail of the day. And I will, on our Facebook page, I will put the recipe. Maybe we can all make that together, show pictures of the drink, and we'll have a cheers of the cocktail of the day next time we do this. All right. So I think we're going to begin. I don't know what size canvases you use. I always use a 16 by 20. You're allowed to use whatever size you like. You can buy these from Michael's, the dollar store has them, Walmart has them in a variety of qualities. Same as the paints. Although I was shopping at the dollar store today, I don't know if you've noticed, but the paints are almost all gone. The little deco art are just basically gone. So I go to Michael's, of course I buy them in bulk, nice big liter bottle of paint. I just use the Flow Acrylic, Artist Loft Flow Acrylic. They work. Okay, so a little talk about acrylic paint. Again, I know a lot of you have seen this already, but just for a reminder, acrylic paint will wash off your skin, but not your fabric. Okay, that's why I always wear an apron. If you should get it on your skin, quick wash, it will come off. If you should get it on your clothing today, bit of warm water, bit of scrubbing, and it will come out no problem. Okay. If you don't notice it till the morning, yeah, it won't come out. Although I have heard some rubbing alcohol, but I wouldn't want to put rubbing alcohol on my clothing. But if you're stuck with painted clothing, you might want to. Hi, Mary Rose. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Okay. We're going to be, most of this painting is going from left to right, right to left in horizontal strokes. And quick warning, you may have heard me talk about this before, but a quick warning is that when we're doing our horizontal strokes from edge to edge, our elbow can be our enemy. It can make our arm operate like a windshield wiper. And without noticing, you'll end up with big curves. So that's something I can't see to help you. So just something you need to remind yourself, keep your elbow up, and we want as straight a line as you can across from one edge to the other, just like that, okay? And we're going to start with the sky. This is a pink sky with some orange and reds in it, then some blue for the water, and this is the beach. You can make the sky and the beach as long or as short as you like. Don't be constrained by what you see here. This is art. It's art, man. You get to be creative. You can decide what it is you want to do, the color scheme you'd like to do. I've seen some way more orangey than pink up here. I've seen more water. It's all good. This is art. There's no wrong answer. You can be creative. You can use the colors you like. All right? So we're going to dip our brush in a bit of water first, tap it off, dab it off on the napkin. You don't want any drips. And we're going to start with a pink. How do we make pink? A little bit of red. I try and always use the same plate. So a little bit of red right into the corner of white. And mix that up. Way more white than red. Way, like 20 to 1. And so I've got a mixture of red and white mixed together, makes a nice pink. See my plate. And I'm just going to start right at the very top. And I'm going to go right across. And you end up with some streaky reds and whites and pinks. Streaky is what we're after. Streaky is good. It gives character to the sky. And I'm going to come down about 6, 7 inches. Whatever you want to do is good. And across. Back and forth, using both sides of the brush. Try and cover up the white canvas. You don't get any white canvas showing. Alright, so we're done, folks. Thanks very much. Have a great night. Bye. No, I'm joking. So that's what I've done so far. Good. And I'm just going to make that a wee bit darker so I can see it and you can see it. I'm going to flatten out my brush, and I'm going to use the front end. I'm going to decide where I want my horizon, where the water is going to be. So maybe about there, and I'm just going to draw as straight a line as I can. It's hard to do standing up. As straight a line as I can. And below that's going to be blue, and then beach. I'm just going to finish this off with some pink. And then I'm going to switch to some orange. So back and forth quite quickly. Remember, you've probably experienced this. This paint dries really fast, which is both good and bad, right? It's good because by the time we're done, the whole thing's going to be dry, but it's bad if you're trying to mix up some colors and blend things in. You'd like it a little damp. So that's why we act sometimes a little quick, just to make sure that the paint is still and wet enough to blend. Right, everyone see that's where we're kind of at right now. Is that straight? No, not really. That is one of the hardest things to do, is a straight line when I'm painting standing up. Okay. Now I'm going to grab some glue. I'm probably going to clean my brush. So, remember the technique of cleaning your brush? There is a pro tip. Hold your cup. Brush right to the very bottom and scrub. Scrub well. Scrub for a few seconds. Scrub on the bottom and the sides. Take a look. Yep. Clean. Tap, tap, tap. Dab, dab, dab on your napkin. And it's completely clean. Perfect. We're sticking with this brush. I'm going to make some light blue. So that's just a little bit of blue. Now dab it right into another corner of white. Mix it in together. Dab, dab, smush, smush, twirl, twirl. I've got some light blue. And I'm going to decide how much water I want. Say there. So from here to here is going to be water. Or as much as you want again. Remember, this is your painting. Excuse me. Yeah, water. Right. Just going to sky this water. Edge. Try and keep it as straight as possible and as flat as possible. Who here has been to Lake Huron beaches? One of my favorite places in Ontario. It's so beautiful when you're sitting there in the sun, the beautiful white beaches, You know, I've often said the water's so clear and blue, all that's missing is palm trees and you think you're down south. It's so beautiful. I love those beaches. Now, if you want, grab a little bit of straight blue on your brush. So as you see on my brush here, just a little bit of straight blue, and I'm going to just add some of that in to my water lightly, stretch it right across. Just darkening that up in some places, not everywhere. So we've got this lovely, beautiful light pink sky, some water showing there. All right, now I'm going to clean my brush because I'm going to go for some orange in the sky, I think. Hold that thought. Now the original's got some blue in it. You may want to add some blue in the sky. You may not want to add some blue. Let's see what happens. Sticking with the light blue, really light blue, so that's extra white in there. So into the puddle of light blue, I just added some more white. And I'm going to gently, using my brush this way, throw in some blue on top of that pink. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Very little, less is more. That's often a good mantra for painting. Less is more. You can always add, it's hard to take away. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Throw some blue in there. Anybody see that? So you've got pink with a little bit of blue and blue water. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush. Say, Lori, your video's not working. Can you see us now? All right, do we all remember how to make orange? Little bit, how much red? Little teeny weeny, it's a bit tiny bit of red into quite a bit of yellow. So I'm just going to put this down for 1 second. I've got my paints on my plate. I'm going to grab a little bit of red, put it right into a corner, right into there. Start mushing and swirling. And again, less is more. We're going to scrape off most of this paint. I don't want so much. But depending on the shade of orange you want, it's up to you too. That's allowed. So now I'm just scraping off. Scrape, 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 scrape. A little bit of orange. Again, using my brush flat ways, horizontally. We're going to throw in some orange. Right on the horizon. Wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle along. Up into the sky, all across the pink. Just wiggle wherever you want to throw some orange. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. It's enough for me. Yours can be different. That's all good. Any shade of orange you want to do. If you want to throw red in there to make it more glowy, you can. Now we're going to let that dry before we add the sun in white. I'm going to let that dry. So is everyone caught up to something like this? Let me know in the chat. And let me know where you are. Whereabouts are you in the world? You've had visitors from Nova Scotia. We've had them from the island of Curacao. We've had them from London, England. All over the place. Let me know where you are in the chat. Let me know where you are in our painting. How far along before I move on. Now the sand, that's going to be layers of different colors. There's brown obviously in there, but just a little bit. You're going to be using sort of a brown, yellow mix with a bit of red in there, and different shades of that on top of each other to give that sand duny effect. But not yet. So let me know in the chat how you guys doing. Have you caught up to where I'm at now? Or are you still painting frantically? It's all good, there's no rush. And if you like the pastel-y look, which I kind of got going on here, it's just more white. More white into the color mix that you're doing at the time makes it pastel-y. If you want it bolder, it's less white. Now, hi Shambles. I have a cat. Bye Shambles. Okay. So let's make up a little bit more orange. So a little bit more red into your yellow. Excuse me, Shambles. I don't know if you can see him. Hey, buddy, don't step in the paint. Some orange, and I'm going to throw a little bit of brown into that mix. Throwing brown right into that orange I just made up. So that's my brush. Some brown and orange in it. And I'm going to basically paint most of this. That's a little too dark. I'm going to throw some white in this. Watch out. That cat is going to step right in that paint. So I've added more white into that mix. I'm going to lighten that up. More white, I think. Yeah, that's better. And that goes right up to the shoreline. Remember, it's still the same brush, and I didn't clean it because I had an orange already on my brush. So we've got the beginning of sand. And to change it up a little bit as the sort of the light comes towards us, I'm going to add a bit more red into that brown orange mixture I have on the go. That red and brown make a nice little rosé type of color. I'm throwing right on top, just a little bit on top, and I'm going to bring that down from one edge to the other. Added just a bit more red, lightened it up again. Again, the trick to any good painting, what have we said before? It's layering. This is just the first layer. You can see the different shades we've got going on. All right, everyone's caught up. Woohoo! I can see that. A bit more red, a bit more brown. Come up with a shade that's interesting. A bit of yellow. Mix, mix, mix. Dab, dab, dab. We're going to paint the rest of this canvas right to the bottom. My brush is pretty dry right now, but I'm going to throw some of that red I had on the brush into my brown up here. Bring it down. My yellow in there, a bit of red in there, a bit of brown in there. Mix it up. Throw it got going? Reddish, brownish, sandy-ish colors all going on. Just a little bit at a time. Add a little bit at a time to your puddle of color you got on the go. So I've got a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of brown, a little bit of white. Just kind of changes the color up. We'll add the sand dune lines a little later. We're just doing the background at the moment. You noticed on a fresh canvas how quickly the canvas eats the paint? Just eats it right up. Nom nom nom. So it doesn't go far. Keep refreshing your brush. Scoop up some more. Bit of white, bit of red, bit of brown, bit of yellow. Mush it together. Mush, mush, mush. Blend that in. That one turned out a little more yellow. It's fine. Just blend it in like this. And I have to move my hand, otherwise I'm just going to paint it. You guys hear my cat meowing? He's not desperate for attention or treats. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and just blend those colors in. That gives us a basis of a sunsetty beach. So we've got pinks, browny pink, yellowy brown, yellowy pink, sandy color, water, orangey pinky sky. Alright, just let me know when you guys have done this part of the beach, and we'll move on to the next part. Little tip for you guys. As we paint, is that like a brown Mary Rose? Yes, it is. It's a brown with red, yellow, and white all mixed together. You get this sort of rose gold, sandy, pink sand coming up. And what I've managed to do, I hope, is blend it enough into the brown we've done at the water side. Blend it in so it starts like an ombre into the pinky sand. So a little tip, as you've seen me painting, I do this sometimes, back and forth, and that's very common. People do that. The problem is you end up with brushstroke marks right in the middle of your painting. So we need to get rid of those. And we just go from one side of the painting to the other, right across, right from one edge to the other, over those brushstroke marks, and that will get rid of those. We don't want those too much. We're going to try and cover everything up with some dunes, but it's always a good habit to get rid of those brushstroke marks. So the colors we use, again, to make this sand, we'll go from, this is brown and yellow with a little bit of white up here, and then I added some red and yellow and white, and then as paint got used up, I just made up another mixture of some white, brown, yellow, and red in different proportions, smush them together, and blend them as they go. If I didn't like it, I throw on some white. And I'm going to put this brush aside, not in the water because I'm going to come back to it. I'm just going to put it down aside somewhere. And in a minute, when you're all caught up, we're going to switch to the small brush. And then we're going to do the sun. But let me know when you're caught up. While you're doing that, I'm just going to put this down, have a drink. Cheers! Hey, buddy. Meow. I know. My cat shambles the helper. Hey, buddy. Oh, come say hello. Oh. This is Shambles, the tuxedo cat, because he's got white under his neck there. He's a lug. He's very heavy. He's about 14 pounds. Our other cat, Maya, is, about 6 pounds. Way lighter and fluffier. But he wants more treats. He's going to have to wait. There you go. All right. So guys, let me know when you are caught up with the basic beach done. And when you're done, we're going to move on to the sun, because the sun's going to require a few layers of color on it. Whether you want to do yellow or white, your choice. It's going to take a few layers, which means we're going to do the first layer. It will be thin. The background will show through. No problem. We let that dry. We'll come back, do another one. We'll come back, do another one. And we may come back again and again, just to make it brighter. Hi, buddy. Back again, huh? Okay. Here goes the tail. Can I help you, mister? Don't step in the paint. Okay, small brush. I'm going to use white. Throw a little bit in. Not much. Pick a spot where you want the sun. And you can do a full circle or a semicircle. Entirely up to you. Try and start out with about a nickel size. And paint it in. The truth is that every time we add a layer of paint, the sun's going to get bigger. No, don't drink the paint water. So that's usually something I tell most of my painters. Please don't drink the paint water. But guess who's doing it right now? Buddy. No. Go easy. Okay. As first layer of a little bit of sun. And we'll let that dry. So the brush you can put in the water or put it aside. And we're going to switch back to our brush that I haven't cleaned, because we're going to start off with some of the dunes. Let's start off with a lighter color. So that color we have of the sort of the gold rosy sandy color, going to add some white right into that puddle that you have on the go. We're going to brighten that up. You can make it a little bit more yellow too to give it a sandy effect. And that's kind of too much paint. I'm going to scrape that off on the side. And I'm going to use the front edge like this. From one edge to the other, I'm just going to put some lines in. Very lightly. Right across. Very lightly, hardly any paint. Regularly spaced, I think. Oh, I pressed too hard. Look at that. Okay. So we've got some ridges going on. Now we're going to darken that up. We're going to add some red to that. Add some red. Add some brown. You just want to make a darker version now. A little bit of red, a little bit of brown, maybe a bit more brown. Less paint, I'm going to scrape some off. And now I'm going to add just some light streaks. Lightly touched, that is. Along, on top, alongside, on top, underneath, on top, underneath, on top, underneath. Throw an extra one in there. Underneath, on top. Do you see the effect that we're starting? I'm going to start layering some nice thin lines of different shades, so that we're playing with that gold rose color we have on the go. We're just playing with it. That's really all we're doing. Adding different shades of color to it to change it up. Remember, less is more. It's very important. Put on here, underneath, on top, maybe a little bit in the middle. On top of that line, under that line, on top of that line, under that line. A little bit here, a little bit there. We're starting to get some dune effect. A little bit here. See, my brush now is pretty dry. There's not much paint on the end of it. And that's I'm just dragging along, fill in some of the wider gaps, just gently, back and forth. Maybe you have to press a little harder now because my brush is pretty dry. I'm just going to throw some ripples in there. Less is more. Nice. So can you guys see that? I'm getting those duney effects going on in different shades of that rose gold brown. Now you can do as many or as much as you like. The original, quite a few. We'll add the reflections in a little bit, so we can continue putting different shades. I could lighten it up, maybe make it pinky. A bit more white into a sort of a red area. Less is more. Remind myself, scrape off. Throw some of that in. Some of the gaps. Don't forget the edges. I often find we often miss the very edges, sides of the canvas get missed. Don't miss those. More and more. More and more layers and layers and layers and layers. That is the real trick to getting a nice effect on your paintings. I'm getting sore. You're going to want it a little redder. Grab a little bit of red into that puddle I've got on the go. Push it in a little bit. Scrape it off. Now add some red. You can make a little bumps in there. Don't have to be all so flat. So, throwing in some different shades. Again, just by changing up that puddle of brown, yellow, white, red, just by changing it up, by adding a bit more of this, a bit more of that, give it a little swirl, scrape off, and then add your layer of dunes. Everyone doing okay? Remember to breathe when you paint. Don't hold your breath. Very important. So I'm going to go back to my small brush. Going to dry it off. Grab some white and just freshen up that sun with another layer. Another layer of white. Wash away. My wife Susan says, think sandy thoughts. When we're done, don't forget to please post pictures of your beautiful artwork. We'd love to see it. Some of you have been with us since the beginning, seeing how people have been posting their painting. So much fun. So I'm going to let this dry. The next step, for me, that's done until we're going to add the ripples. So I'm just going to let this dry for a minute before we put in the posts and the bird. Look at that. Dry. That didn't take long at all. Okay, back to the small brush. Dab it off, clean it off. Grab a little bit of white, another layer. White to my sun. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some reflections of the sun in the water and on the beach. So I've used up most of that paint on my small brush for the sun. So I've got a little bit left, what we call a dry brush. I'm just going to add some wiggles into the water like that. And I'm going to follow that down with a little bit onto the painting. A little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. So the brush is almost dry. I'm just scraping off the rest of that little bit of paint into the painting. Okay, I'm going to clean this brush because we're going to need it for the bird. And I'm done with the big brush. Clean that off too. Good. So I'm going to let this dry for a little bit. I'm going to switch to this medium brush. It's a flat head. It's about a quarter inch. And we're going to paint the posts in a bit. So I'm just going to let this dry. How's everybody doing? Are they all caught up? You all caught up, guys? Take a moment. There's no rush. Just take a moment and let me know how you're doing, where you are at. And Laurie, is your video working? Did you manage to get it going? buddy. Excuse me a second, I have to see my cat again. There you go, help yourself. It's clean water this time. And here's the other one. Yeah, hi. All right. So I'm going to assume you're all caught up and I can move on to the posts. Yeah? Let me know. So, this brush into black. Ooh, I didn't pour any black. Excuse me one second. Just need a little bit of black. We don't need much at all. Like a drop. Teeny tiny. Black paint. I brush both sides, flatten both sides against the plate, and scrape. So now the brush looks like a flathead screwdriver. I'm going to do the posts. These two posts here. Essentially, all I'm going to do is put my brush, lay it right up against the canvas, and drag down. I'll paint over that in a second, but that gives me one post. Scrape. Do the other post, maybe a little lower. We have two posts. Now I'm just going to paint over them, nice and gently and lightly. Again, nice flathead screwdriver look to the brush. Widen the post out a little bit. I got two posts. And I'm done with this brush. But I can't put it in my water because my cat's drinking the water. That's all right. How's everyone doing? You caught up to post yet? Excuse me. If you're not, let me know. I can wait before I move on to the bird. You can continue doing different shades on your dunes, your little ripples in your sand if you wish. But not after you've done the post. Once you've done the post, we're not going to paint anymore. So I'll be switching back to the small brush to do the bird on the post. He's easier than he looks. This is where some people get worried, but it's pretty easy. So I'm going to roll my little brush in the black paint. Roll, 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 and then scrape, scrape, scrape. Always less is more. Are you ready for bird? Here we go. I'm going to do a line, which is his back, like that. And then I'm going to give him a belly. A belly. And paint that in. And add some tail feathers. You've got a belly, a back, and some tail feathers. Refresh the brush, scrape off, less is more. Now this bird's looking backwards. So what I'm going to do is put a little round circle head. Now you can make your bird look any way you like. And if you want him backwards, you put the little line of a beak to the left. If you want him looking forward, you do a little line to the beak to the right. And then a couple of little stick legs. And you got yourself a bird. If you'd like to make his beak longer, make him more of a sea gully, your choice. Make his head a little bigger, I think, for here. Get rid of that thin neck. Yeah. And guys, we're done. We're really finished. There's not much more to do on this painting. You can do more reflection if you want, but again, once you've done the post, I wouldn't be adding any more across because the black will smear. And what's the last thing we get to do on a painting? Sign it. I use a marker. You can use your black paint, and you just sign your name, your initials in the corner. Bottom right corner is typical. And there you have it. You get yourself Ipperwash Beach. Just a reminder, we're going to do this again in about 2 weeks. And if you're interested in doing any type of a private event, a corporate event, which have really started to pick up in the last week and a half, I've probably got 9 requests for private events. Some online and some in person, which will be held outside. So if you're interested, you can email me at info@paintandcocktails, and I can send you the details. I'm going to stay on a couple of minutes. Just let me know if you have any questions. Let me know in the chat. And then we can finish up. Nice beach day today, that's for sure. I hope everyone's going to have a great weekend. The weather's meant to be fantastic. If you get a chance to go out to eat somewhere on a patio, we did that a couple of weeks ago locally here in Kitchener. It was wonderful. Nice to get out. Does anyone have any questions for me? Any concerns? Hope everybody's technology ended up working okay. As you can imagine, we are far more artsy than we are computery. So, we're at the hands of Facebook in this medium. I may explore using another medium, but this seems to work for most people. All right, so no questions. I guess we're done. Thank you, everybody, for coming again. And hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.